Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the supernatural horror films from 2024, titled The Deliverance. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens with a little boy named Andre, who is currently drawing on the walls of his new home, which his family has recently moved into. His mother, Ebony, is impressed with his drawing. Elsewhere, we see Ebony's mother, Alberta, attending a church seminar. In the evening, the family gathers for dinner, and we meet Ebony's two other kids, Shantae and Nate. Alberta asks Ebony why she didn't allow her to bring Andre to church, and the latter responds that she doesn't want to force him if he's not interested. During the meal, Andre requests more milk, but Ebony scolds him, saying he shouldn't drink it in the first place as he's lactose intolerant. But the boy responds that she is too cheap to buy milk.
Shit, Dre.
The comment enrages Ebony, but she feels guilty when she sees blood on his mouth, while Alberta is angry at how she acts. Later, in her room, Shantae asks her father when he'll be back, because her mother has been acting crazy lately. We learn that the couple is not on good terms, and Ebony is struggling with alcoholism. Meanwhile, Ebony is calculating her debts in the living room, when she is interrupted by a swarm of flies. She notices that they're coming from the basement, but she doesn't go there and just closes the door. Later at midnight, Andre awakens, and goes to the kitchen, where he starts drinking milk directly from the carton, as if something has taken over him. A crow suddenly hits the window, and when Andre goes outside to check, he finds the bird dead. The next day, when the kids get home from school, we learn that Nate always gets bullied by the neighbor guys. Later at home, Ebony notices some bruises on Nate and asks what happened. Shantae hesitantly reveals that the boys in the neighborhood have bullied him again. Upon hearing this, an enraged Ebony heads to confront them, while Shantae fears that her mom will end up in jail again. Ebony then brutally beats up one of the bullies, and warns him to stay away from her children. She insists that the boy summon his mother so she can beat her up as well. When she returns home, Alberta criticizes her aggressive behavior, but Ebony reminds her of how Alberta herself was a problematic mother. Afterward, while sitting on her porch, Ebony notices Andre playing on the swing, and conversing with someone who is not visible anywhere. She also becomes increasingly annoyed by the stench from the basement, and tells her son to stop talking to himself and go back inside. One evening, Ebony returns home drunk, and her eldest son Nate is frustrated seeing her from the window. Later that night, the mother has a nightmare about a man standing next to her bed. She wakes up, and grabs a baseball bat before searching the house for the intruder. She notices the basement door open, and when she tries to close it, the foul smell disgusts her so much that she starts vomiting in the sink. Just then, Nate shows up and accuses her of taking his saving money. Ebony questions how he got the money in the first place, and asks if he is selling drugs. Nate explains that his father occasionally sends him cash, which he saves so he can finally get away from her. Hearing this, an enraged Ebony slaps him, and Nate also retaliates by pushing her. A panicked Andre tries to intervene, but he trips over the baseball bat and injures himself. Ebony runs to check on him, while Nate calls her Mother of the Year before heading into his room. Moments later, a regretful Ebony returns Nate's money. She begs him not to leave, claiming that she's trying really hard to be a decent mother. Tired of the unpleasant odor, Ebony calls the pest control service the next day, who finds a dead cat in the basement. Shortly after, a child services officer named Cynthia arrives at the house for a routine investigation. Cynthia then notices bruises on Shantae's arm, and Andre's hunched posture. She asks what happened, but Shantae only says she woke up with bruises, while Andre says he fell on the playground. Suspicious, Cynthia instructs them to go to their rooms. She also hands Shantae her card and asks her to contact her if necessary. Next, Ebony is questioned if she has been drinking, to which she responds that she occasionally does, just like everyone else. Cynthia then reveals that the kid's father made an allegation in court, claiming there was drug use, drinking, and abuse in the house. But Ebony claims that he only said so to gain custody, before he goes off to Iraq and leaves the children homeless. Cynthia says her only concern is the children's well-being, and advises Ebony not to neglect them. As the social worker departs, Ebony and Alberta notice a mysterious woman in a car outside her house, watching them, but they have no idea who she is. The scene then cuts to Shantae's birthday party, at which several guests have arrived. Ebony gifts her daughter a new phone, which makes her very happy. As the night grows late, the kids are sent to bed, while the adults continue to party. Later, as Ebony is having fun, she hears loud thumping noises in the basement, and when she opens the basement door, she finds Andre banging his head against it while deep asleep. She immediately wakes him up and asks what he was doing. Andre reveals that he was speaking with his friend, Trey, who lives in the basement hole. Hearing this, Ebony is weirded out, so she takes the boy to his room and tucks him in. After the party ends, she gets excessively drunk, and passes out in her bed. Ebony soon awakens to a loud banging noise coming from the children's room. She heads there to scold them, and moments later, Alberta hears the children screaming from upstairs. The old woman then discovers the room in disarray, where the 3 children are hiding in the closet, and in front of them is Ebony, who seems distressed. When Alberta asks what happened, Shantae claims that she awoke to Mom yelling at them, while Andre claims she threw them against the wall. Ebony insists she didn't do any such thing, but her mother doesn't seem to believe her. The next day at school, all 3 children exhibit extremely erratic behavior. Nate is seen laughing in class, as his teacher discusses how 44% of AIDS deaths occur among black people. He laughs so hard that he falls out of his chair. Meanwhile, Andre goes one step further, and unexpectedly starts pooping in class. The teacher tries to stop him, but Andre throws his warm shit at her and begins eating it himself. Elsewhere, Shantae is in her choir practice when she whispers something to her teacher, and he notices that she is bleeding between her legs. Ebony soon receives a call regarding her children's disruptive behavior at school, while the 3 kids are admitted to the hospital. A doctor shows Andre images of various things for psychological evaluation, and when he comes across a crow's picture, he claims that it is Trey. Shortly after, the doctor reveals that the kids underwent several tests, but nothing unusual was found. The doctor then suggests that the children may be experiencing stress at home. But Ebony refuses to believe the doctor, and she finally walks out of there. Later at home, she is bathing Andre when she gets a call from a debt collector and rushes downstairs. Alberta is hanging a cross on the wall and, noticing her daughter's stress, she advises her to seek God's help, but this only annoys Ebony. And when she returns to the bathroom, Ebony uses all her strength to push Nate away, and finally manages to separate them. Alberta consoles Nate, but he claims to have no recollection of what he just did. Days later, Cynthia shows up again to visit the family, and Ebony reluctantly lets her in. The social worker accuses her of keeping the children out of school and abusing them. Ebony frantically insists that there is something evil in the house that is infecting her children, but Cynthia doesn't believe her and thinks she is just making excuses. At this intense moment, Alberta arrives downstairs holding a baseball bat, prompting Cynthia to hastily leave. Alberta then notices the same mysterious woman in a car observing their house. The next day, the mysterious woman confronts Ebony outside a bar, introducing herself as an apostle named Bernice. Bernice reveals that her children are sick, and explains that she has been watching Ebony's family for a while. She then reveals about a family who lived in the same house 20 years ago. It was a married couple with a daughter and a son. One day, the son began acting strangely, and despite numerous doctors examining him, nothing unusual was discovered. That's when they turned to Bernice for help. She reveals that she tried to cast the demon out of the boy using a process called the Deliverance, but the beast was so powerful that it killed the boy. Following the incident, the mother lost her sanity and was possessed. She beheaded her husband with an axe, strangled her daughter, and hanged herself. Meanwhile, at home, Alberta hears someone calling her. As she makes her way downstairs, she detects an unpleasant odor. All of a sudden, she is attacked by an entity. Back to Ebony, she asks for the name of the boy who died, and Bernice reveals that his name was Trey. This shocks Ebony, who admits that her son has an imaginary friend by that name. Bernice responds that it is not a friend, but rather a demon. Since the demon failed to capture Trey, it has been looking for another child to possess. But despite the obvious signs, Ebony refuses to believe the apostle, and warns her to stay away from the family, so Bernice hands her contact information before she leaves. Later, when Ebony returns home, she discovers the crucifix on the wall in flames, and is horrified to find her mother's body lifeless on the floor. She bursts into tears, right when Andre arrives and casually asks what happened to Grandma. Not long after, the police also arrive, and seal off the house. Following this, a distraught Ebony drives away with her kids, hoping to escape the haunted house. On the way, Shantae reveals that she has contacted Cynthia, since their grandmother died and they need someone to look after them. Ebony breaks down in tears, and Andre suddenly gets possessed, causing the terrified Ebony to almost crash the car. She then runs to a nearby diner, and begs the people there to help her children. Seeing this, a kind man offers to help, and goes to the car with her, only to discover the children sleeping peacefully. In the aftermath of this incident, they are taken to the hospital, where Ebony undergoes a psychological evaluation. The doctor concludes that she has lost her mind due to alcohol and substance abuse, and declares her unfit to keep custody of her children. Cynthia also arrives at the hospital, and informs Ebony that she will place the children in church foster care for their safety. Upon being released from the hospital, Ebony eventually realizes that Bernice was correct and goes to meet her for help. She asks the apostle why the demon is targeting her family, and Bernice explains that it preys on the weak and vulnerable. It just wants Andre, and everybody in that house dead. Meanwhile, Cynthia observes Andre in the hospital, who is convulsing and growling abnormally. The nurses reveal that he has been acting like this all night, and was even speaking in another language, so they had to restrain him. Afterward, Cynthia meets with the possessed Andre, who mocks her. He also reveals that he is not Andre. And then all of a sudden, witnessing this, Cynthia finally realizes that Ebony was genuinely suffering from an evil presence when she had asked for help earlier. Sometime later, Ebony arrives at the hospital, disguised as a nurse, and takes Andre away. She and Bernice then bring the boy home to perform the deliverance. They strap him into a chair, and Bernice warns Ebony that throughout the process, she must believe in God, and not allow the demon to play with her mind. The apostle then begins the ritual, and splashes some holy water on Andre. This causes the latter to writhe in pain, and he soon transforms into a demonic version of Alberta. Meanwhile, we see Nate and Shantae in foster care, where they are also affected by the ritual, and becoming possessed. Back inside the house, the demon breaks free from the straps, and laughs maniacally. The house then begins to shake violently, so Bernice instructs Ebony to go upstairs, and not come out until it is over. As she continues the process, the demon mocks her for promising to save Trey but failing miserably. It then suddenly vanishes, leaving the woman terrified. Before she can even react, an unseen force attacks her and slams her against the wall. Elsewhere, Nate and Shantae are seen screaming hysterically, and injuring themselves. Moments later, Ebony returns downstairs and catches a glimpse of Andre, before he vanishes again. She approaches the dying Bernice, who laments that she has failed yet again because she was scared. Bernice gives Ebony the holy water, and urges her to finish the process without fear of the demon. After saying this, the woman succumbs to her injuries and passes away. Ebony then heads down to the basement, knowing it is where the demon resides. She finds Andre standing near a sinkhole, and sprinkles holy water on him. But this only agitates the demon and it suddenly charges towards her. It then transforms into Ebony's own form, and begins to terrorize her. The demon slams Ebony to the ground and violates her. She causes her to hurt herself without making any physical contact. But despite the immense pain, Ebony refuses to give up and calls out Jesus' name, and this causes the demon to get enraged. As the demon presses its foot against her neck, Ebony is transported into a dreamlike void, where she remembers happier moments with her children. She hears her mother's voice saying, she can beg for God's help, and she is brought back to reality. This moment of clarity gives Ebony the courage to confront the demon that is possessing her son. She rebukes and begins to hurl Bible verses at it without any fear. Fortunately, the ritual proves effective, and starts a fire in the middle of the basement. The demon is then engulfed in flames, and it falls into the sinkhole in the basement. At the same time, Shantae and Nate are also freed from the demon's grip. After the battle, Ebony discovers Andre sleeping peacefully on the basement floor, having returned to his normal self. Though the fight against evil may be over, she understands that she won't immediately regain custody of her children. The next day, Cynthia returns to find a heavily scarred Ebony packing up her belongings to move out. She reveals that the kids are fine, but don't remember anything about the ordeal. Ebony also decides to live somewhere else with her aunt. In the final scene, the movie fast forwards 6 months later, where we see Ebony reunited with her children. She tells her kids that she has been in touch with their father, and they will try to work things out. The movie concludes with a photograph of Latoya Ammons, the woman whose story inspired the film. It also provides an update on the haunted house, stating that it remained vacant until it was bulldozed in 2016. However, strange occurrences continue to be reported around the property to this day. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.